Hello, I'm Robert Schnase, Bishop of the Rio, Texas Conference. It's good to visit with you for a few minutes today, and I just, again, just appreciate so much of what you're doing to help strengthen our ministries and to continue our outreach during this rather extraordinary time. It seems like every week there's some new twist in this with the coronavirus, and various public officials come out with new guidelines. And so people have been asking, when should we reopen churches? Uh, I just want to commend to you the thought that this is a decision that needs to be done very carefully, very deliberately. It's probably not a one size fits all answer, but there are some things that you really need to take into consideration that makes us different from how restaurants might make the decision to reopen, or how a business might make the decision. We're a community of faith. We're the body of Christ, and uh, and in many ways, we could say the church never has been closed. It's just that our buildings have been closed. And so, as you start thinking about how do we get back together, there's some things that I'd really like you to think about. And uh, I first want to say that I'm with you, that I just long for being back in the company of fellow Christians to work together as a staff here in the conference office, to be with the pastors and in your congregations for worship. I'm longing for that, and this is a desire we all have in common. So the things I share are not somehow saying that I don't long for that. That's very important, but I also don't want us to rush into things. There's an article that's been written by a friend and colleague, Alex Shanks. He's the assistant bishop in the Florida conference, and it's called "Why Reopening a Church is Different." And I'm going to commend that article to you. Wherever you're seeing this, there'll be a way to download this or to look at this. Just 3 pages long, but it makes the distinction about how different the questions are about what would cause us to reopen and when, as compared to retail businesses or restaurants or other institutions. And so I would ask our pastors, leaders of our congregations, perhaps the team that's looking at when do we reopen, to have a careful read of this article. And some of the things, when I say there are certain principles that I think we need to work with, one of those is that with the changing scenarios and government officials setting various deadlines for things, we don't need to be rushing into this, friends. Churches should seek to exceed the basic health guidelines that are given us from the medical community or by our governmental leaders. And we should be seeking to exceed those. We need to enter into a sense of reopening uh, with utmost cautiousness and conservatism about how we maintain the safety of our people, because we are an institution built on trust and on the notion that we have nothing but the well being of other people in mind. Wesley's teachings, general rules: first, do no harm. Do no harm. Second, do good. And third, stay in love with God. So I'd ask us to take this slowly. I've visited with some churches. Some of the churches in our conferences are using timelines such as no sooner than mid-July for reopening in-person services. Others are experimenting with some small groups a little earlier than that. But there is no nobility in being the first in this. There's no reason you need to be the first church in your area to reopen. And we're not in competition with the restaurants and the retailers to somehow, we have nothing to prove here. And if you think about the composition of many of our congregations, it includes a significant number of people who are at high risk because of their age and for any number of other reasons. I would rather that the churches of the Rio, Texas Conference um, reopen at a sensible time. And once they reopen for in-person worship, they're thinking back, We probably could have done this 2 or 3 weeks earlier and it would have been okay, rather than have congregations saying, was it ever a mistake to have opened 2 or 3 weeks too early? And look at the harm we've done and the people who've been hurt. So, friends, I know these are not easy decisions, and I'm going to be supportive of you, especially as you take this longer view. But let's all just keep in mind that at the cornerstone of who we are as our identity is our love for other people and our putting their needs ahead of our own preferences. So thank you for all you do for the purposes of Christ, for the United Methodist Church, and God bless you in your ministry.